Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into an invisible force. It's a force that's powerful enough to create a lightning storm, but it also explains that tiny, surprising zap you feel when you touch a doorknob.
And you know what? Answering this one simple question, it actually unlocks one of the fundamental forces of the universe. It's not magic, it's physics. And it all starts with something called electric charge. So to really get a handle on why you get that static shock or why balloons stick to walls, we have to go right back to the beginning, to the source code of electricity, electric charge. See, deep down, it's all about atoms. Normally, they're perfectly balanced, with the same number of positive protons and negative electrons. But the moment that balance gets messed up, when an atom has too many or too few electrons, bam, the object becomes charged. And here's the really important part. It's only the tiny electrons that do the moving. Protons are stuck. So, if an object loses some electrons, well, it's left with more positives, right? So it becomes positively charged. And if it grabs a few extra electrons, it becomes negatively charged. Simple as that. A deficit of electrons is positive, and a surplus is negative. Okay, but here's where things get a little weird. Charge is what we call quantized. What does that even mean? It means charge comes in these tiny, discrete packets. The smallest little bit of charge you can possibly have is the charge of one single electron. You can have a billion of them, but you can never, ever have, say, half an electron's worth of charge. It's all or nothing. All right, so now we know what charge is. But the big question is, what happens when you get these charged things near each other? This is where that invisible force suddenly becomes, well, very visible in its effects. And the basic rule of the game? It's incredibly simple, and I bet you've heard it before. Opposites attract and likes repel. Two positives, they're going to push each other away. But bring a positive and a negative together, and they'll pull right toward each other. That one simple idea pretty much runs the whole show in electrostatics. But that leads to a bit of a puzzle, doesn't it? What about our balloon sticking to a neutral wall? Or a charged-up comb picking up little bits of neutral paper? How does that work? Well, the answer is a big yes. It can happen, and it's thanks to this really cool process. It's called electrostatic induction, and what it means is that a charged object can actually attract a totally neutral one without even touching it. It's like the charged object acts as a magnet for the charges that are already inside the neutral object, kind of forcing them to pick a side. Okay, check this out. Imagine you bring a negatively charged rod near a neutral metal ball. All those free-floating electrons inside the ball are like, whoa, no thanks, and they get pushed to the far side. That leaves the side of the ball closest to the rod with a net positive charge. And because that positive side is now closer to the negative rod, the attraction is stronger than the repulsion from the far side. And they stick. It's pretty clever. So we know charges push and pull on each other. But can we actually predict how strong that force is going to be? Is there a pattern to it? You bet there is. And we have a physicist named Charles Augustin de Coulomb to thank for figuring it all out way back in the 1780s.
His big discovery, what we now call Coulomb's law, it's incredibly powerful. It tells us exactly how strong that push or pull is going to be, and believe it or not, it all just boils down to two things.
First up is the amount of charge. Pretty straightforward. More charge equals a stronger force. If you double the charge, you get double the force. But the second factor, distance, is way more dramatic. See, the force weakens with the square of the distance. So what does that mean? It means if you double the distance between two charges, the force between them doesn't get half as strong. It becomes 4 times weaker. It drops off super fast.
But wait a minute. This whole force at a distance thing, it kind of raises a huge question, right? How does one charge even know another one is out there? How does this force just travel through empty space?
Yeah, it's not some kind of psychic connection. Physics has a way cooler answer. The idea is that a charge isn't just sitting there passively. It's actively changing the space all around it. So think of it like this. A charge is like a spider, and it spins this invisible web all around itself. That web is the electric field. So when another charge comes along, it's not feeling the spider directly. It's feeling the vibrations in the web. It's one charge interacting with the field created by the other. Pretty mind-blowing, right? Now, obviously we can't see this field with our eyes, but we can totally map it out. We draw these things called field lines to visualize this invisible force. The rules are simple. Lines point outwards from positive charges and inwards towards negative ones. And here's the secret decoder ring. Wherever the lines are bunched up close together, the field is strong. Where they're spread far apart, the field is weak. It's a map of the invisible force. Okay, so if these invisible fields are just everywhere all around us, can we ever get away from them? Well, it turns out we can. And this leads to a really surprising and super practical consequence. And this is not science fiction, I promise. We can actually block these electric fields. It's a fundamental property of electricity that we use every single day to protect our sensitive electronics. It's called electrostatic shielding. You can actually try this yourself. Your cell phone signal is basically an electromagnetic wave, right? It has an electric field component, so your phone's working just fine. But if you stick it inside a completely enclosed metal box, like a cooking pot with a lid, this signal just vanishes. Why? Because that metal conductor blocks the external field from ever getting inside. So what's happening? Well, all those free-moving electrons inside the metal instantly rearrange themselves to create their own field that perfectly cancels out the field from the outside. This is exactly why you're so safe inside a car during a lightning storm. The car's metal frame acts like a shield, letting all that massive charge flow harmlessly around the outside while the inside stays completely field-free. And what's the strength of that electric field inside any hollow conductor? No matter how powerful the field is on the outside, inside, it's zero, a big fat zero. It's a perfect safe zone from this invisible force. So we've gone from a simple imbalance of electrons in an atom all the way to an invisible force field that we can actually control and even block. That right there is the essence of electrostatics. The next time you get a little zap from a doorknob, just remember what's really going on. You're witnessing the very beginning of a story that explains lightning, cell phones, and so much of our modern world. And that kind of leaves you with one last thing to think about. If we can so effectively shield our sensitive electronics from these invisible forces, what else out there can we, or maybe even should we, be protecting? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining this explainer.